What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And I'm speaking the language of bromance, and Shawn is speaking the language of...
Ghost Man. It's the only time of year, Richard, where I get to do
I wish people could see this, because you got your hands up and you're doing these like spirit fingers, and you're like, woo!
They're not spirit fingers, they're summoning speakers.
Speakers? I see.
Fingers? They're summoning fingers.
Or are they spirit fingers?
Ooh, spirit fingers.
Yeah, see?
That's summon. Woo!
Oh,
are you scared?
God.
Are you spooked out?
I'm fucking terrified of what's gonna happen over the course of the next however many minutes.
Well, Richard, it's October. It is apple cider season. Apple cider.
Oh my God, I'm so excited for apple cider. I know I go on about this like every single year, but I'm so excited. The local orchard is going to have apple cider ready for me in like 7 days.
Well, Richard, I've already poured myself a hot glass of cider with a little bit.
I'm going to buy so much cider.
Oh, what's the cinnamon whiskey that everybody loves? Fireball. Yeah, my hot whiskey and Fireball's mixed.
I'll be like, what's the legal? I was like, how much cider can I purchase without being classified as commercial? That much? Okay, that -1. That's how much I want.
And my kid will take some too.
I mean, I guess.
But Richard, we are going to we always try to figure out some cool spooky stuff. So we've already done our Halloween sequel movie pitch, which went fantastic.
Right.
Next week is Brolloween, which is marked on everybody's calendar.
As well it should be.
And this week, Richard, we are going to find some creepy, haunted places and spook the crap out of each other.
Yes.
I don't know about you two. Like, I'm not. So I thought about this, and our buddy Jason should be jumping on with us for Brolloween next week. He does a lot of the investigation stuff, right? Like, he actually goes into these haunted places.
Right.
I would not go into a haunted place.
But I actually have one here that you might actually have already been in and not even know it.
All right. Well, I will tee it up for you first, Richard, if you want to share your first spooky place.
This one, I'm just gonna.
It's your bedroom, Shawn, where everything dies.
This one's very, very short, but I felt it was worth mentioning because, Shawn, this one is right by where you live. And when I say right by where you live, I mean it is your very own local Walmart.
Really? There's a couple sketchy Walmarts where I live.
This one is your very own local Walmart. So the next time you're shopping for groceries at this specific Walmart, which I know is by your house.
Is it the one by my house?
It's the one by your house.
Really? That's pretty brand new to already have like ghosts living there.
I know, right?
They're like, the deals were to die for.
God damn it. Okay, so like I said, this one's super short, but it's gonna make you think the next time and every single time you're in that Walmart. All right?
I don't already have enough to worry about when I have to go into Walmart.
The next time you're shopping for groceries at this Columbia Walmart, check out the toy section that has stirred several reports about a haunting.
Oh, shit. I go to that one a lot.
A little boy's spirit is said to play in the toy aisles.
Oh, God.
Witnesses report seeing toys floating from shelf to shelf or suspended hula hoops suddenly falling to the ground. Shoppers have also heard a child's laugh echoing through the aisles even when no children were around.
Think about that. So first off, like just thinking about that scenario, like let's say like you work at Walmart and you're working that like graveyard shift, like that 2-3 in the morning. You're already hopped up on Monster and Red Bull and probably like one of those 5-hour energy drinks.
All at the same time.
Yeah. And you're walking around, your heart's racing. You just hear, ha 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 ha. Who wants a hula hoop? Come play with me. This is on a hellmouth.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, all the Tickle Me Elmos start talking like the batteries are low, and they're like, and then you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And then some crackhead walks out and says, hey, you're out of toilet paper.
And then you're like, Jesus Christ, you hit him.
He goes, ow! Oh, oh, oh.
Sorry, I thought you were a little boy ghost. Wait a minute, you're saying you'd punch a little boy?
A little boy ghost.
Totally different.
Don't be insensitive, asshole.
But yeah, think about that, Shawn. This is a Walmart. This is a Walmart where they're saying people are saying they see toys float from shelf to shelf. You remember in the opening scene in Ghostbusters where the chick's walking through the library and fucking books are floating around and shit?
Oh yeah. Would that be the scariest? Like, me floating stuff wouldn't be the scariest. It'd be the kid laughter. Like hearing a kid laugh.
Exactly.
Like, of course I'm going to say it and he's going to do it tonight, but like my kid's never done that like at night, like laughed in his sleep. He talks in his sleep sometimes, but like from his room, if I just hear, I'm going to kill you, Dad. I'd be like, holy shit. I got to move.
Oh,
they grow up so quick.
That reminds me, I need to talk to your son later. Be like, listen, I want you to do something for me in the middle of the night. I want you to just start laughing crazy.
One night when your dad's had too much apple cider and Fireball, say this. He's like, Richard, Dad punched me in the face. Yeah. Did he think you were a ghost?
Not in my house. Whap.
This is a ghost-free zone. Whack. Ow, Mom!
Oh my God! And I could get him like a creepy mask to wear.
He already wants.
He could just like run around the house in the middle of the night and laugh.
Richard, do you know what he wants to be for Halloween?
What's he want to be for Halloween?
First off, it's been like 10 things, but the first thing he wants to be is Michael Myers.
Oh my God. I want to put a Michael Myers mask on him and have him run through the house and laugh in the middle of the night so bad.
No, Michael Myers didn't laugh though. Like you just have to teach him to be like super strategic and like stand behind like mirrors and then quickly hide.
No, not even that. No, he can still laugh. Imagine this, Shawn. You wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, I thought I heard something. It might be one of the dogs or something like that. And you open up the door to your bedroom and there's your son and he's standing there in the Michael Myers mask and then he starts laughing.
Oh, and he laughs to the tune of, he's like, ha 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 ha. So Mike's son, he's either going to be the next Eli Roth or maybe the next Michael Myers. I don't know. But his playlist is like, bunch of Blippy songs and then the theme song to Halloween.
I love it.
Yeah, he loves that song.
Oh, good stuff.
We've got a neighbor in our neighborhood that every Halloween he dresses up like Michael Myers. I think I probably said this last year. But when you walk up, the theme song's playing over speakers at his door. And so when you walk up, you see, and you ring the doorbell, you see him like slowly walk through his kitchen because they got like this big picture window in the front. And he walks up to the front door with a knife, fake knife, I think, and a thing of candy. He lowers it, doesn't say a word, doesn't move. You pick candy, pulls it back, slowly shuts the door. And then he walks over to the picture window and stands there an extremely long period of time as you're walking up the street, just staring at you with the knife.
Oh, no.
It's pretty awesome.
So, Shawn, I just sent you the address for this Walmart, and I want you to tell me how close it is to your house.
It is right up the street. It's not walking distance, but it's the one that we typically go to.
Exactly.
Oh, no wonder I can't find any of the toys I want.
There's a ghost in the toy aisle, Shawn. There's a little boy ghost in the toy aisle.
Did they say what? They didn't have like no name or anything or any stories?
There's no name or anything. Like I said, it was just a short little blip. But if I felt like it was worth mentioning.
That's pretty good. I'm going to tell Tiffany that, and she's going to be like, that's why I go to Target. All right, Richard. So for my first place, it has a little bit of a tie to you and a town that is across the river from us. And it's the town of Mark Twain. This place isn't there, but he had visited this place. So it's called the House of Death.
Oh, shit.
And this is from a site called NewYorkGhosts.com.
Okay.
And so this house is located on 14 West 10th Street. So the story starts out that there was, let's see if I can find this, because it's kind of a long story, so I want to kind of hit the main points on it. But Mr. Mr. James Borman Johnson was responsible for funding a reading room library in the famed 10th Street studio. After he died, his wealthy widow moved their daughters into the House of Death in the 1880s. So this house seems to have started earning its reputation gradually after the Borman family stopped living there. So I don't know why they mentioned those people. So these were the first people that lived there. They left. But the first incident of bad luck was when cycling celebrity Fred H. Andrew, who was the new owner, was riding his bike and ran over and hit an 8-year-old boy, causing him to break his leg.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. They arrested Andrew for this too, which first off, like, I don't know if bikes back in the 1890s were just these massive, like, things that if you somehow couldn't stop.
Yeah, of course they were. You've seen them, like the guy, and he's sitting on a thing with a big giant wheel.
Little back
if
wheel.
you get hit with that, like, number one, I think the kid's leg's getting broke. And number two, I feel like the guy that's sitting like 50 feet in the air on the bike is going to fall and like crack a couple ribs.
Yeah, well, I mean, you imagine the kid's probably out on that sidewalk playing that jacks game, dropping the ball, trying to pick up the jacks. He's like, yeah.
No, they're
Steve,
playing in the
play
street.
some jacks.
They're playing in the street.
Yeah.
What do they got to worry about? Cars?
There's no cars. Horse poop. Lots of poop back then.
Yeah.
And here comes some dude on a big ass bike. Ring a ring a ring.
Yeah.
Look out, kids! I can't stop.
He's riding by. He's like 80 gajillion feet. He's sitting like he's sitting on a fucking Ferris wheel.
He probably couldn't see him.
Chucking on down the road, and he cracks a kid right in the fucking dome.
No, that's probably what happens. The kid got caught in the wheel well and got pulled up. It was like thunk.
Oh,
but it was like a Ferris wheel, so when he went thunk, he like took like a minute to get over. Thunk. And then, I don't know if you know this, Richard, but those bikes, it takes like 6 miles to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like I said, it's like trying to stop a Ferris wheel at the circus.
Yeah, and they're probably like, have you been under the influence, Andrew?
There's some like fucking like dude in his mid-20s with a fucking like stained up colored wife beater that's like pulling a lever to try and get the bike to stop.
Yeah, could you imagine trying to get on that and start that? Like, I feel like you need help. Like, that's when you start on a hill, and they just kind of like get you up there and say, good luck, Andrew. Whee!
Yeah. You're wearing your top hat and your monocle.
Mm-hmm. Drinking your cough syrup with cocaine in it.
Good stuff.
Good old days.
Oh, summer of love.
Mm-hmm. So the most famous tenant, so like this is just bad luck, right? So Andrew was arrested, but the house's most famous tenant was one Mark Twain. So apparently Mark Twain, so it was 3 years after Andrew had his cycling accident that Mark Twain moved in. And he only lived there over about 12 months, over a 12-month period. But this was the point in time where he was battling bankruptcy and was turning in rushed, but most of his classic works, which they don't say which ones those were.
Okay.
He was also fighting depression, not helped by the sad mustache he wore constantly, which I think this is somebody putting a little bit of their bias because Mark Twain's mustache is a thing of beauty.
It is.
That is a must.
The only one I've ever seen rival it, Wilford Brimley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that one should be like a national treasure.
It should be.
Like they should have.
I feel like it's in the Smithsonian somewhere.
The extra
there's
room.
a mannequin head with Mark Twain's actual mustache.
Yeah, they're
like glued onto it.
Like it's actually real, right? That was the one we took off his body.
Yeah, we cut it right off his fucking face before we put him in the ground.
So apparently, while
Haley's Comet's got nothing on this.
Apparently, while living in this house, a piece of wood moved from the fireplace in the air all by itself. So, Richard, what Mark Twain did is he took out his gun and shot said piece of wood, thinking it was a rat.
Nope, probably a Decepticon. That's what it was.
Blood, Richard, dripped from where the shot happened, but there was no rodent, even though Twain maintained that it was a rodent and not a ghost.
So wait a minute, how is it a ghost story if the guy that witnessed it doesn't think it was a fucking ghost?
I mean, it was
why
Mark Twain at this point.
Why isn't this filed under fucking crazy rat story?
He was drunk on cough syrup with cocaine in it.
Some fucking rat that's like crazy fucking roid strong hauling logs across the goddamn room.
Well, hey, that's a horror story in itself. Could you imagine?
Fucking roided out rats?
Just walking, like going through a fire, pulling out a piece of wood and just walking with it. It's like, no,
my penis would be this size if it wasn't for the pills.
No, Samuel Clemens, this is my piece of wood.
Yeah.
Go, Tom,
Can I get a
fuck
hell
yourself.
yeah? Listen here, brother. This is my wood. See, because it's Hulk Hogan who did it. Never mind. Anyway.
And Samuel Clemens like, oh, yeah. So, although Twain did not have many pleasant memories of the house, he can still be seen roaming the stairwells of the House of Death. Dude,
isn't there like 8 places that Mark Twain is supposedly haunting?
It's like him and Lincoln. Those are the two that they're always like, oh, yeah.
Like they get around.
And like if you follow most like ghost lore, like usually they're only stuck in one place.
Exactly. I thought that was, which is weird when you think about it. You would think that, like, I mean, people can't be in 2 places at once, but you would think that ghosts could be like multiple places at once.
Yeah, I would think so. It'd be like, yeah, because they really probably have no concept of time. So they're just kind of like,
right?
They're here.
Like ghosts just fucking like, hey, I'll go visit the summer home.
That's what's in, like, you watch Supernatural and they talk about, like, and I wonder if this is kind of the case of real life, but how ghosts, if they're left, like, if they don't, like, basically move on, they start to become more and more angry and kind of basically go crazy, essentially.
Okay.
God, could you imagine a crazy Mark Twain? Like, maybe that's where Stephen King's got all of his ideas.
Maybe. But like I'm saying, like maybe ghosts migrate, like old people, old retirees, like they just travel around. They bounce between houses.
Yeah. Well, it'd be nice if you could like pick where you'd go to.
Yeah.
Because if it's like, if you visit there, of course you can go. It's like, oh, great. I'm going to summer in France and winter in Florida.
That's a good, you know what? You bring up an excellent point. Do you have to have been somewhere when you were alive in order to haunt it when you're dead?
I would,
because if I was a ghost, I'd be like, I'm going to haunt the fucking, the Four Palms Resort in Maui for the rest of my days.
Yeah, that's where they all go. They all go to Hawaii. I couldn't go here in life, so I'm going to go here in death. No, I would imagine you have to be there, and I would think that there'd have to be some like piece of you there. Like some like so like why Mark Twain is all over the place, because that big bushy mustache. Like
shed. He just shed everywhere he went.
And it was so majestic that
it's like, this is still gonna come in handy when I'm dead.
And it's so majestic that even like one mustache hair is enough to keep his soul intact in that location.
You can grow a whole Mark Twain. It's like cloning.
God, that's one guy I'd like to research more, because I feel like he would be 1 part interesting, 2 part like you're probably like, man, this guy was really weird.
Shawn, before I die, I want you to chop off one of my fingers and mail it to Maui.
There we go.
But it's got to get there before I die.
What if it just has to be a part of you? You just have to mail like...
That's what I'm saying. Like, just hack a finger off.
You want to be...
If I'm like 95 and laying in my deathbed, I'll be like, take the pinky.
Do it now. What are you talking about, Richard? Cut it off. Not my penis. Oh!
Hurry, get in the box.
And send it before I bleed out. Yeah, you're like, send it. Yes, I just want to be sure. I got to send the most important thing.
Priority mail. Priority mail.
What do you mean it costs $7,000? Worth it. So there was a group of people, as a mother and a daughter, bumped into Twain's ghost, perched on a window seat, and he approached them and said, "My name is Clemens, and I has a problem here I got to settle."
Samuel Clemens.
And he disappeared, Richard. Yeah, because I don't know if you know this, Richard. Mark Twain's real name wasn't Mark Twain. It was Samuel
James
Clemens.
Bond.
Oh. Did you know how he got the name Mark Twain?
It had something to do with the guy sticking a stick in the river, right?
I don't know if it was like the water was too low or they had to do something, but somebody yelled, "Mark Twain!"
Yeah, when they determined depth of a riverboat.
Would you want to be like a river person?
But I want to be. I don't understand why I want to be a river person.
Yeah,
like, do I want to live in a hole in the bank and?
Well, no, I was thinking you like work a riverboat like back in the day, moving up and down the river, because I feel like that's a rough life. Like you talk about sailors.
I feel like it would be too.
Like sailors,
I don't want to do that.
Like you're on, like you hear people like back then, like their ships would wreck and they would die, and it's like, I mean, you're on the river. Like you can see the banks.
Did they have river pirates?
Yes, they did. There's a Davy Crockett movie about that.
See, there you go. I could be river pirate.
You could.
That wouldn't be too bad. That'd be kind of fun.
Like,
I'm still a pirate.
Matey, give me the booty. Like,
yeah.
You're from Louisiana. Why are you talking like that?
Never you mind.
And there's a few other weird things. Like, there's some child abuse stuff, I guess. Like this lawyer and his wife. There's actually a daily news paper about this, calling it the House of Terror. But I thought the reference to Mark Twain, so we won't go too deep into the creepiness of it, even though this is the House of Death, because it could probably be an episode in itself. But I think that's a good point to talk about, like celebrities and things in ghost places. So I will cue you up, Richard, for your next haunted place.
All right, for my next haunted place, we're going to travel all the way to Los Angeles.
Ooh, L.A.
L.A. City of Lights.
City
Wait, that's Paris.
Of Love.
So I'm going to talk about the Cecil Hotel.
Hotels, are creepy. One.
I know. See, this is the time I wish you were in a hotel, because then I could tell you this story.
What's the oldest hotel you've been at? Like, have you been in
the creepiest hotel?
No, old. Like, have you been in an old, like 1800s hotel?
No, I have not.
There's one, and maybe we should go there together. That might be our next vacation.
Oh my God, we totally should.
There's one. It's called Eureka Springs.
Okay,
and they have.
Okay. Oh my God. I think.
Do you have one? Have that on there?
It's in Eureka Springs, which is in Arkansas.
Oh no, this is there's like a Eureka Springs hotel.
Okay,
it's where. What was the president that held up the newspaper that said Dewey wins or whatever?
Truman.
Was that Truman? Truman?
No,
was,
not
not
right. Truman.
Because Truman was from Missouri.
I don't remember.
Whichever president that was, I think that picture was taken there. The gangster from Chicago, Capone, visited there a bunch. Like, there's been a bunch of weird, creepy things that have happened there. Okay. And like the rooms have this like small, very old timey feel to it. So it's really, really cool. But that was the oldest one I stayed at. And I took tons of pictures, hoping to see ghosts. Only thing on my phone, Richard, my penis.
Oh, was it haunted? Okay, so the Cecil Hotel has a list of deaths, violence, or other suspicious activity. The Cecil Hotel was a budget hotel in downtown Los Angeles, and it opened in 1927.
Oof. Right.
So since 1931, it has gained a reputation. So on this list, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, like 20 different deaths.
That's not much though, right? For a hotel in LA? Like, doesn't that happen like yearly in a lot of hotels?
Well, a majority of these are suicides.
Oh.
So Elizabeth Snort, who was the you ever hear back in the day of the Black Dahlia?
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
The Black Dahlia murder.
Mysterious murder that nobody solved.
Exactly. That happened in this hotel.
Ooh. Do you think do they have to tell you that's the room, or do you think they have it closed off?
I don't know. She was reportedly seen at the bar in the days shortly before her murder in January of 1947.
Doesn't hotel rooms, if you sit and think about it, like, I feel like if somebody committed suicide or there's a murder in the room, I feel like they have to tell you that. Like, hey, you're going into room 1313. Like, all right, well, that's already bad luck. Like, yeah, there's been 18 suicides in that room.
I guess it's one of those things, I think it's one of those things that you wait for the other person to bring up. Because, you don't want to be like, hey, you're not into suicides, are you?
Here's your news. What? I said, here's your key card. Oh, weird.
Would you like the news in the morning?
Do you take your toaster in the bath? What? I said, do you take your toast
black in the morning when you'll be alive? Fingers crossed.
So with that, is that something you need to start bringing up when you get to the hotel? Like, oh, okay, well, thanks for my room key.
How many murders happened? You go to the front desk and they're like, you're in room 238. I'm like, how many people died in that room?
Another
how many?
You're like, I'll take a room smoke-free.
You're obligated to tell me. That's hotel code.
It's law. I don't know if you know this. I know this is California, but
State law demands that you tell me how many people died in my room.
You walk up, you're like, I'd like a smoke-free room and a death-free room, please.
I would like a room in which no one has committed suicide.
Oh, man.
Well, the Cecil was also the reported residence for Richard Ramirez.
Oh, that was a serial killer, right?
It was a serial killer in the 1980s known as the Night Stalker.
Yeah.
And Jack Unterweger in 1991. And Jack Unterweger was also a serial killer who committed murder in several countries. And I don't have a number for him.
Ooh. Well, the Night Stalker, didn't they blame AC/DC for that one?
I've never heard that.
I feel like I thought they had a song and they said that's what inspired him.
Looks like 7 or 8
in the hotel, or
in many different countries. Oh, okay. During his time in Los Angeles, 3 sex workers were strangled with their own bras. Yeah. And that's okay. So both of those guys stayed at the Hotel Cecil. At the Cecil Hotel.
Okay, like think of that even further next time, Richard, you're staying at a hotel. Like think of like the people that slept on that bed. Like what if that's your connection?
What is this? Is this the Manson bed? You have to tell me. It's law. It's state law. You have to tell me if this is the Manson bed.
How many serial killers slept in this bed? I need to know.
Which one's the Dahmer suite? I want the one down the hall. On November 19th, 1931, there was one woman found dead after ingesting poison capsules. So that's the earliest known suicide at the hotel.
So do you think, is it just hotels or just kind of an easy place to do that? Or do you think there's something about hotels that sparks this stuff to happen?
Maybe a little of both. I don't know. Like, I feel like if I'm going to commit suicide, and I'm not trying to be glib about it, but I feel like if I'm going to commit suicide, I wouldn't really care about where I'm at. I'm like, oh, I better check into a hotel. I don't want to mess up my floors.
Yeah.
You know? But I think there is something to be said for the isolation that a hotel room can give you.
Yeah, I get that.
Like it can make, I can totally see how it could make, it could exacerbate feelings of loneliness.
Yeah. So if you're on a business trip or something, especially like, you think traveling salesmen back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. In 1932, there was, a man that was found, that a maid found with a gunshot wound, didn't leave a suicide note. In 34, medical corps sergeant was found dead in his room. He slashed his throat. He left several notes, one of which cited poor health as a reason for his suicide. There was a woman that fell from a 9th-story window.
Have you ever seen is it 1408, the Stephen King movie? It's got
yes. John Cusack's in it.
Yeah, he's wearing a White Sox hat in that movie. Basically, that's like Stephen King's like scary hotel movie, and that's like the whole idea. Like you can't spend a night in.
What do you mean? That's his scary hotel movie?
Well, he wrote it as that was like his scary hotel room story.
Oh, okay.
I think that's the way he said it. Yeah, because his Shining would be a scary hotel movie.
Yeah.
Or a story. But I think this was like specific to it. Although, I mean, in The Shining, there was a specific room too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stephen King. He's high
that
on
man
cough syrup with cocaine.
he knows what's going on with hotels.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, he wrote most of his books like early on high on cocaine in hotel rooms.
There's another person that jumped was found on the skylight of a neighboring building. Another person that ingested poison. In 1944, there was a person sharing a room with her boyfriend, shoe salesman Ben Levine, who had apparently been unaware that they were pregnant. They went into labor. That's if I didn't know. Disrupt.
Well, geez, dude, like how?
Oh, so this lady went to the bathroom in the room and gave birth to a baby boy.
What are they not teaching like even mild sex ed at this point? Like, how unaware do you have to be, unless you're in the movie Blue Lagoon, that your girlfriend's not pregnant or is pregnant?
That story ends badly.
Yeah, don't go on with that look.
Yeah, that story doesn't end well. Another jumper, San Francisco stationery firm employee jumped from window 7th floor room, landed on top of the Cecil's marquee. So there's people that like landed on the sign. So the sign has been drenched in blood.
Yeah, like, could you imagine walking in like after that happens? Like, yeah, like, first off, I want to know which are the murder rooms and avoid those. And I think you've got a problem outside.
In 1962, Pauline Otten, who was 27, jumped from the window of her 9th floor room. It seems like a lot of these are on like the 7th to 9th floor.
Isn't there a thing about that? Like, they talk about like suicide jumps?
That's possible. I think this hotel probably skews the fucking curve, though. She jumped from her 9th floor room after an argument with her estranged husband. He had left the room prior to the suicide. She jumped from the window, landed on a pedestrian, George Gianni, 65, killing them both instantly. How do you think about that, Shawn? You're just fucking walking in front of the place, and people are landing on your head.
Yeah. Even the sidewalk is cursed.
Police thought Otten and Gianni committed suicide together. However, it was soon determined that Gianni had his hands in his pockets at the time of his death, and he was still wearing shoes. Had he jumped, his shoes would have likely fallen off during the fall or upon impact.
Was that her husband?
And his hands would. So initially, when police showed up, the police thought that these two had killed them, jumped together. But then they saw, they're like, well, his hands are in his pockets and he's still wearing shoes. If he would have jumped, as soon as he hit the ground, his shoes would have gone flying off and his hands wouldn't be in his pockets.
I don't know about that. I mean, you tie your shoes pretty tight.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're falling fucking 100 feet and fucking hitting the ground, something's coming off.
Well, what if he's on top? It's more cushion. Shoes won't pop off. Science.
Let's the most recent one was in 2015. An old man was found outside the hotel. Some conjectured he may have committed suicide by jumping from the hotel, although a spokesperson informed the LA Times that the cause of death had not been determined. And okay. So Shawn, this was actually like a few Brolloweens ago, but you remember I told you the story of Eliza Lamb?
Which one was that? I don't remember off the top of my head.
That was the chick where they had security footage.
Oh yeah,
of her standing in the hall, and it looked like she was talking to somebody in an elevator.
Yeah, and then they found her in the water supply.
And then they found her in the water tower. You know where she was?
That hotel?
That hotel, the Hotel Cecil.
What room was she on the 9th floor?
Let's see. She had gone missing 3 weeks earlier. She was found after a maintenance worker entered a water tank after guests complained about low water pressure and that the water tasted funny.
Yeah, I remember you told me that. You did that Brolloween while I was staying in a hotel.
Yes.
That was Brolloween 2016, in case anybody wants to know.
However, rumors persist that she died as a result of playing the elevator game, a paranormal urban legend that claims to take the player to another dimension.
Oh, I think I've got that to talk about on our Brolloween, because I heard some people talking about that. Oh, those games creep me out. It's like a Ouija board type thing. Like,
oh, fuck a Ouija board. Yeah. I feel like we've talked about a Ouija board too.
Hey,
but anyway,
your cabinet back there just open.
Don't do this. I'm looking at myself to determine what's going on behind me.
Yeah. I don't think that cabinet was open.
Well, it was.
You sure?
Yes.
All right.
God damn it. Anyway, that's the Hotel Cecil.
That's I think, again, like a scary hotel, like hotels in general are just scary to me. Like, even when, like, it's one of those things, like when you stay at a new house for the first time, I'm always like, well, hopefully there aren't any ghosts.
Hopefully.
And the same thing in hotels. You're like, man, hopefully I can get through these 3 nights without any ghost sightings.
Okay. So in the event you buy another house, will you go the extra step and try to like research some way to possibly like cleanse your house?
Richard, I put a ghost clause in all the times I've bought a house. And I say within 90 days.
That's smart.
If there are any feelings of ghosts in this house, that basically it's null and void.
I like it. I like it.
Because
that makes sense.
I mean, it's like what was the famous movie about the house? Amityville. Yeah, like could you imagine that? You buy a house, first 30 days, you're like basically on a hellmouth, and you almost kill your family because of the spirits in there, and you have to leave. What do you do then? You can't sell it.
Yeah, exactly.
You couldn't, and like of good conscience, like if you get out and everything's fine, could you like of good conscience try to sell that house? It's like, oh well, 30 days. Why'd you want to leave? Reasons.
Water pressure. There's no good schools.
Well, Richard, so I know you love to bring up things around where I live.
Yes.
So I thought I would do the same thing.
You're going to bring up something around where you live?
Where I live. No, Richard, this is from hauntedillinois.com.
Okay.
And these are ghosts of Quincy.
Oh, all right.
So this is by Troy Taylor. So this will be a few different things. So I'll probably kind of read most of it. So Quincy is known as the Jewel of the West and was later.
Okay, so quick hit. When I was a kid, I used to do a lot of, I guess it's called urban spelunking now.
Uh-huh.
Like when I was a kid, I would go and run around in like old abandoned houses and stuff like that.
Ooh, what'd you run into?
Just cause. I mean, I wouldn't do it in the middle of the night. It was always like fucking like broad daylight.
I don't blame you.
And I'd have a spotter, and but I did that. I did that when I was like, like young. I'd run around, like you find like an old abandoned house, and like there's like an opening that you can like get in and kind of like walk around in.
Did you ever find anything cool?
I did that a lot. I mean, you see a lot of graffiti,
but nothing that you'd consider like spooky.
No, honestly, my biggest fear then was that like I'd find some like fucking sleeping homeless dude,
or a dead body.
No, I go for the dead body because I'm like, oh my god, it's like Stand By Me.
Yeah, but except now you got to report that. And you're like, why were you in there? Did you kill that person? You're like, no. Why is there blood on your hands? Why? I want to make sure they're okay.
Yeah. So I hit him to make sure to see if he was really dead.
I saw it. I was like, oh god, ghost, whack. I thought it was a ghost boy.
The good old double tap. You know what I'm talking about, guys.
So Quincy used to be known as Jewel of the West and later Gem City. And there's a lot of history. I don't know if you know this, Richard, but apparently Quincy used to be called Little Chicago.
I did know that.
Yep.
I did know that.
Al Capone supposedly spent a lot of time in Quincy.
Yes, apparently he did.
There was the train, easy enough to go up and down. I also heard that the saying was, if you want to hide a body, the best place to do that, it's in Quincy.
I can 100% see that. Yep. Because I'm driving around with you and I'm thinking like, after a good 30 minutes of being in a car, I'm like, where can I hide his body?
Yep. So there's a lot of famous buildings there. So there's the Villa Catherine, which was basically this guy wanted to build a castle essentially. Yes. And so he built this Villa Catherine. My sister got married there actually.
I didn't know that.
It's the only Moorish castle built on the Mississippi, which is said to be haunted by Bingo, the Great Dane that was once owned by George Metz.
Okay, like, come on. Like, you're trying to scare me and you start with a dog named Bingo.
Yeah, it's kind of a shitty name. But I mean, could you imagine if your house was haunted by a dog?
What the fuck is that? I'm Bingo.
And every night, like, you just hear scratching at the door because he wants to go outside to take a piss.
Or if you're sitting there, like you wait until, like, you stay at the Villa Catherine and you wait until midnight and then you do this. NGO.
I knew it. There's also said to be a haunted cemetery in the area known as Ghost Hollow, located south of Quincy.
Ghost Hollow Road. That's been a persistent urban legend around here. Is Ghost Hollow Road?
Is that the one with the basically the 2-lane bridge?
I don't know. It's been forever since I drove down it. The urban legend is if you're driving on Ghost Hollow Road in the middle of the night, you'll be driving, and it's kind of a narrower road, but you're driving down the road, and then all of a sudden you'll see headlights will pop up, like you're driving, and then headlights will pop up in front of you, like there's a car that's like suddenly in front of you that will cause you to like swerve, but then obviously you'll swerve, stop, get out, and there's no car.
But there's a man in a mask.
No, there's no man in a mask.
Oh, good.
Apparently, it's just like a fucking ghost car that like runs you off the road if you're driving in the middle of the night.
So the eerie graveyard is supposedly surrounded by high stone wall is filled with crumbling stone crypts, which, you know what? If that's where Capone put all the bodies, that would make sense.
In the crypts?
Yeah.
There's quite a few like crypts.
Yeah.
Around.
In the center of the burial ground is a black tomb that bears a one-word inscription in Latin. Few are believed to know the exact location of this cemetery, and the inquiries into the sites were mostly met with silence. The few who did speak about it claimed that you hear the sound of whispers and singing.
Yeah, apparently the cemetery there's Ghost Hollow Road, but the cemetery is like you have to like walk a decent because where Ghost Hollow Road is, there's like it starts out kind of prairie-ish, but then it gets kind of woodish, and apparently you stop and kind of go through the woods and you'll find it, and it's kind of like in a big clearing.
Oh god, so like it's super old.
Yes. Like it's one of those super old cemeteries where like all the inscriptions are worn off tombstones and whatnot.
So speaking of old, also located in the city limits is a housing area known as Harrison Hills or Indian Mounds.
Yes.
So according to legends, the houses there were built directly on Indian burial sites, which Illinois, there's is it Cahokia?
I think Cahokia. I think Nauvoo.
Nauvoo might be, yeah. Where there's these big, and these weren't like mass graves that like I think people who settled here.
Well, yeah, because Native Americans had burial mounds.
Yeah. So they're like natural burial grounds, like not like I was thinking like it wasn't like when settlers came and threw them there. It was actual.
Yeah, and so what did we do? We built a park.
Yeah.
That you can drive. You drive. There's this like big there's this like it's like a park, and there's a windy road that runs through the park to like a community pool. And as you're driving down through this road that kind of like curves way more than it should, considering, it's not a long road, but it curves way more than it should. And you see these little hills, and then you're sitting there, and then you watch the movie Poltergeist, and you're like, what the fuck is the matter with people? Mm-hmm. Didn't they see this movie? They did not. None of those people watch Poltergeist, Shawn.
So residents apparently still find arrowheads, and during the night they can hear voices chanting in native languages being carried in the night.
Totally believe it. You didn't move the bodies.
So Quincy also has history during the Civil War, which has given birth to several legends, which I haven't heard too many things about, because Quincy is right on the river across from Missouri. And I don't know if you know your history, Richard, but Missouri and Illinois did not get along during the Civil War.
They didn't. Yeah. I did read tell of that. I'm going to take a second just to go back and say, in hindsight, isn't that really, really fucked up to build like a park and a pool next to like supposed Indian burial mounds?
Yeah, well, I was going to bring it up, like the idea of, because, I mean, all these houses are built, like, you don't know if there's been somebody buried in that spot, like, 300 years ago, that it's unidentifiable. Yeah. I've taken a trip to a place where it's so isolated that, like, they have found human bones, and they're just kind of like, it's just, I mean, you're kind of in the middle of nowhere, so it's just what it is.
Yeah. Like, and I guess, like I said, like, really, when you like actually like take some time to think about it, like, that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah. I don't know what the reasoning is behind it. It's kind of like at the point, it's like, well, it's there.
I'm not that far from it either. I'm like, less than a mile.
Yeah. But I mean, at this point, it's like, who do you ask about that? Who would have the information and be like, oh, well, here's the reasons why.
Well, and also who's going to tell you? Be like, yeah, those are totally like, they totally like, paved roads and built a pool next to a fucking Indian burial ground.
You know how many bodies we found? Tons. Well, not me.
You move the headstones.
So like I was saying, during the Civil War, Illinois and Missouri did not get along, and Quincy is right across the river from Missouri.
Yep.
I think there wasn't. I don't know if there's a lot on the Missouri side during this time, so there wasn't as many issues that I remember growing up hearing. Alton, Illinois, though, which is supposedly the most haunted place in Illinois, they were like directly across the river from some bigger like Missouri settlements, so they constantly had stuff going on back and forth. They actually had a pretty sketchy, it would have been a Union prison there where they took like Confederate soldiers that they didn't treat very well.
Well, that's fun.
So one such story about the Civil War is the fact that the city is located, like I said, across the river from Missouri, a state that stayed loyal to the Confederacy. Southern sympathizers and spies often came across the Mississippi and stayed in Quincy. One house that legends say often harbored Southerners was the Old Rebel House, which was located at the corner of 2nd and Vermont Street. For many years after the Civil War, locals told of spies and saboteurs who stayed at the house, and to add to its reputation, it was also regarded as being haunted.
2nd and Vermont.
Is that where your house is at?
No. I'm trying to think what is there now.
Applebee's.
Close. I think it's a park.
Probably. There is a
because apparently that's what we do. We find fucking fucked up haunted places where a bunch of crazy weird shit happened, and then we put a park in it.
Well, I mean, that's better than putting a house. So, like if we put a park, they're free and they don't haunt anybody. That's why the parks.
You're like, look, ghosts, you got bike paths.
There's a tennis court. There's a play set.
There's a fountain. You can play in the fountain.
But I mean, the idea behind that, Richard, is that, you know, you've got this park, so then like you don't have to worry about them haunting anybody.
Yeah, unless you want to go to the park in the middle of the night.
Well, yeah, but that's why the parks close at 10. So the only people
that's why, like, you know, you're out driving and you got your girl with you.
Yeah,
and you're
Tom Ghost.
And you're not fucking like, you know, you can't go anywhere else because you're 16 and you know, you can't go to like your room, can't go to her room.
Yeah.
So what do?
Go to a park.
Yep.
And freak out that maybe a hobo might try to come break in your car, or there's a ghost watching.
Well, hopefully the ghost is going to worry about the hobo. I feel like the ghost is going to protect me and kill the hobo.
Good point. Like that's like good, like, bro ghost.
Right? You're be like, hey, let's go to a park and like get nasty. And then she's like, why are we going to go to the park? And I'm like, cause we'll have a ghost spotter.
Bro ghost.
Yeah. He's going to be on the fucking lookout for transients.
He's like, I remember those days. me and Samantha used to get on the horse and ride out to this
in the
park.
back of the whiskey wagon.
That was good hooch. There's I've never heard too many ghost stories about it, but my hometown of Liberty, there is a very, very, very old house. They've kind of built onto it at this point, but it was used for the Underground Railroad.
Oh yeah. Big stop on the Underground Railroad. There's a few houses that still boast that they were part of the Underground Railroad. Yeah.
Let's see. I got a couple more on here. So there's a book that recounts a spooky incident that took place in the house in the 1880s. So this is the Old Rebel House. It was occupied by a mother and 3 children who lived on the top floor, while the woman's married daughter and husband lived downstairs. There was a long balcony on the 2nd floor that stretched from one end of the house to the other, and the doors opened from this porch into nearly every room. It should also be pointed out that there was no way to gain access from the balcony from outside. One morning, the mother left for work and placed her daughters in charge of her infant son. Almost as soon as she departed, the 2 girls began to argue over who got to rock their baby's brother's cradle. Suddenly, in the midst of their bickering, a door that led in from the balcony opened up and a sinister-looking man stepped inside. Years later, the 2 girls would say that the man looked like the picture you see of the devil.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, before he got to them, though, he changed directions and ran away.
Oh, Shawn, I'm looking at Street View on that address that you told me, and there is nothing there. There is nothing there on all 4 corners. It's empty lot, but it does look like there was a retaining wall on one of them. So I'm guessing there might have been a house there. So that makes sense.
Let's see. There's a lot of weird stuff in Quincy. So the Burton Cave.
I've heard of Burton Cave.
Apparently, some people saw a hooded figure with its hands hidden within the folds and a hood over its head.
I've heard that story as well.
Yep.
That was kind of like an urban legend when I was growing up.
The figure vanished, but picnickers moved deeper into the cave and discovered a woman in a white dress laying prone on the makeshift altar, ritual candles lying all around her.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that story.
What grade school did you go to?
Adams. You're going to talk about Madison.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll tell you what. I had a friend of mine that worked as a security guard for the public schools, and he 100% believes every single story about that school. It's not school anymore. I think it's being converted into like office space.
Yeah, because this says that, so Madison Grammar School, a woman was once brutally murdered in the house that stood at its site. Her killing was never solved. Supposedly, they were never able to remove the bloody evidence of the crime from the oak floorboards.
Yeah.
The report, many strange and unexpected sounds in the house, from doors opening to that of a body being dragged down the steps.
Yes, he's said all of these to me, and he said I 100% believe every single one of them. He said I've never seen anything, but I heard plenty.
Heard like as he was watching the place.
Yes,
Oof.
yeah.
It was not learned until later that the woman who had been killed in the house had been slain on the second floor, and her body dragged downstairs and stuffed into a small closet.
Closet underneath the stairs.
Yeah, so the house
is the way the story goes.
The house was torn down, and the school was built on top of it.
I
want to talk about my university. Supposedly, so according to correspondence, Quincy University is also believed to be haunted. Salino Hall on campus, which now holds the School of Music, was erected on the site of an orphanage that burned down many years ago.
Oh, shit.
According to legend, several children were killed in the tragedy. The orphanage was rebuilt, and the new building was used to house orphans who survived the fire until it closed down. And I remember people saying you could still hear like cries and stuff of kids in there. Yeah, that's about it for Quincy. I didn't realize about the unsolved murder one.
Which one?
The Madison's Grammar School.
Oh, you didn't know that story? That was kind of one of the more famous ghost stories about the area.
Yeah, you should talk to your friend, see if he wants to come on for Brolloween next year.
That one and the Ghost Hollow Road story were always like very persistent stories when I was in school.
I'm trying to think if there's any other ones that I don't remember hearing. I know I lived in the dorm rooms in Quincy when I went there, and dorm rooms kind of have that hotel feel too. Like it was just like there was supposedly a ghost in the dorm room I lived in.
I could 100% see it. I went to your dorm room and I 100% see somebody like swing it, like got a bad grade and just started swinging from the lampshade.
Yeah. Living like a roommate wasn't too bad because you kind of felt safe because like, well, he's on the bottom bunk, so the ghost is going to get him. When I lived there by myself, that's why I always had you come over and be like, Rich, don't leave until I fall asleep. But all right, Richard, what else do you have for some ghostly locations?
Okay, so I feel like I should wrap it up. So I'm gonna wrap this up with a more modern tale, a more modern ghost story tale. Shawn, this story is known as the Dear David story.
Ooh.
And this haunting,
there's a deer named David who haunts
takes
hunters.
place somewhere you wouldn't expect. Shawn, this takes place on Twitter.
Oh shit, Richard. Now you're gonna like you just like do you remember the movie Fear.com?
Yeah.
Like, it feels like it's gonna be like that, except good.
I feel like it's gonna be like that too. Okay. So this is from the Twitter account of Adam Ellis, who goes by the @Moby_dickhead.
Clever.
So it starts off, this is August 7th of 2017. So he sends out a tweet that says, so my apartment is currently being haunted by the ghost of a dead child, and he's trying to kill me.
Oh, fuck this, Richard. Why'd you have to do this one?
So he begins his story with a thread dated on August 7th, and in it he describes a weird dream he had several months prior about a child with a misshapen head seated on a green rocking chair he kept in his bedroom. He said, the first time I saw him, and I'm quoting the tweets directly, the first time I saw him, I was experiencing sleep paralysis and saw a child sitting in the green rocking chair at the foot of my bed. He had a huge misshapen head that was dented on one side, and I did my best to draw it. And there's a picture here, and the picture looks like kind of like something you'd see out of like a Tim Burton movie, where it's like they kind of have this like giant head, and it almost looks like a piece is like cut out of it, but you can tell it's like dented in. In the dream, the child had gotten out of the armchair and began shambling towards Ellis, who sat in his bed feeling paralyzed. He awoke before the child reached him. A few nights after this initial dream, he said he had a second dream in which a little girl told him who he was dealing with. So again, back to the Twitter account, he said, I had another dream a few nights later where I was in a library and a girl came up to me and said, you've seen Dear David, haven't you? And I was like, who? And she said, Dear David, you saw him. In the dream, I say, Dear David, how did you die? She told Ellis that David is dead. Additionally, she explained the rules of interacting with David to Ellis. He appears only at midnight, and if you see him, you can ask him 2 questions as long as you say the words, Dear David.
So this is very much like a Bloody Mary kind of thing.
I mean, yeah, kind of. However, you are never, ever to ask him 3 questions, because if you do, he'll kill you.
Oh, so you do it twice, and then he like tricks you.
Dear David, will you go away? Sorry, what? I said, would you go away? What? I said, would you go? So in a different dream, Ellis tried asking David some questions. In the dream, I say, Dear David, how did you die? And he mumbles.
That's just asking for trouble. Like, you don't
and
start
he mumbles,
with that.
An accident in a store. Maybe it was a Walmart, Shawn.
He's like, I was trying to get the brand new wrestling figures.
I say, Dear David, what happened in the store? And he said, a shelf was pushed on my head.
Oh, man, he leaves you wanting more, too, doesn't he?
I'm frozen with fear. And I ask, who pushed the shelf? And David doesn't answer. I realize that I've asked a 3rd question, which I'm not supposed to do. At that point, I wake up absolutely terrified.
So do you only get to ask 2 questions a night? Or is it 3 total?
Maybe.
Maybe that should be his first question.
Do you want to?
No, I
don't.
It's like,
okay, so this is from August 7th.
It's like Genie and Wishes.
So these tweets are all from August 7th. So now he says, but lately something strange is happening. For the past 4 nights, my cats gather at my front door at exactly midnight and just stare at it, almost like something is on the other side. And he says there's a picture here of his 2 cats like in front of the door, and they're like looking down, like they're looking under the door.
Catnip.
Additionally, when Ellis looked through the peephole, he said he was positive he saw something moving on the other side. And that's where I am right now. When I opened the door and turned on the hall light, nothing was there, but my cat seemed unnerved, bushy tails, etc. And that's where I am right now. Dear David found me, I think. I don't know what to do. I'll keep you updated.
And that was probably from like a year ago, wasn't it?
No. We're going to the next. He said, and that's where I am right now. Dear David found me. I'll keep you updated. Update for the 6th night in a row. My cat has walked over to the door promptly at midnight and stared at it.
Midnight's not even the witching hour, though, is it? Isn't it like 2:30 or 3?
That's what they say. And then he includes a video that says, what's going on? And the video is the cat staring directly at this door. and almost looking like it wants to open it. Like it's like right on it. Like kind of like nuzzling in between the door and the frame, trying to like force it open with its nose. Ellis was curious but still frightened, so he took a photograph of the hallway outside his door through the peephole. He had trouble seeing anything with it. I couldn't tell. I opened the door. Nothing was out there, but I took a photo, and he sent photos. He said, "Is it just me, or is there something in the first photo where the banister meets the shelves, hiding on the stairs?" So in these pictures, because there's pictures here, and he actually puts in like close-ups of the pictures. You can kind of see something like almost like it's like hiding behind the banister.
So is this like
at the top of the stairs
building, or is this in his house?
I believe this is an apartment building. He said, "I wasn't sure if it was a smudge or something, so I took a second photo from the inside, and there was something out there."
Ugh.
"I deadbolted the lock and got into bed because I don't know what else to do. I can still hear my cat meowing at the door." And then he sends another picture that says, "I'm pretty scared." And there's a picture of his cat, and it's those kind of pictures where the light from the flash reflects in the cat's eyes. So it looks like the cat has fucking demon eyes. He says another Twitter account says, "Not to be all Dana Scully, but about this, but is there a chance that what you're seeing in the hallway is another cat?" He says, "No, I live in a house. There's no real way for an animal to be in the hall." And then someone else said, "But you said the apartment above you vacated," and he said it's a duplex, like an old house that was converted into 2 apartments. This is the next night. He says, "It's been pretty quiet. I'm going to try and sleep. I'm going to try out a sleep talk app to see if anything happens during the night. I'm heading to bed, but the cats are back at the door. They only do this in the middle of the night. It's a routine one. It's a routine
so
now."
Is it from like midnight to 12:01?
Probably. And then he sends another video of cat staring at the door. He sends a picture of him pouring he pours a line of salt at the door frame,
supernatural style,
at the threshold. So this is the next day. He said, "I used a sound app to record my apartment last night. It makes individual recordings each time it hears something."
Nope, that already sounds like a bad idea.
There were 33 recordings. He said the first is a snapping sound and what seems like a single step. This one is weird because out of the 33 recordings, it's the only one that had a strange electric sound throughout, like electric static. The next one is a tweet of him getting out of his haunted apartment for the weekend.
Oh, did his stuff stop?
The next day, he posted a selfie, blah, blah, blah. However, a follower found something disturbing in one of the glass panes of the door behind his selfie.
Just while he's out and about. This is like the Ring kind of stuff, like something following him.
Right?
He's got to have somebody else ask this kid 3 questions.
So he said, "I bought a Polaroid camera this weekend because they're fun and dorky," and he decided to take a few photos around his apartment. He said he took a couple of his living room and bedroom, and they're pretty unremarkable. But when he took one of the hallway outside his door, the Polaroid developed completely black. He thought maybe he accidentally covered the lens with his finger, so he took another photo while intentionally covering it, and the photo is lighter than the actual one that he took of the hallway. The one with his finger over the lens, is lighter. Let's see, where is this? I feel like the story's kind of going on.
Well, no, this is kind of like the no sleep Reddit thread. So I've already texted Tiff to make sure she's still up.
So he takes more pictures, and some of these pictures you can clearly see the outline of a figure in the hallway.
No, thank you.
But the hallway itself appears completely black. Folks have been urging me to get some sage, so I did. And there's a picture of him holding sage. He said sage did not work. I haven't dreamed about David in a few months, but he appeared again last night. In the dream, my bedroom was filled with hazy smoke, but I could see David sitting in the chair across the room. He was smaller this time, almost shrunken. He didn't do or say anything except look at me. Anyway, it feels like a bad omen. The next 2 weeks, the cats are again at the door at midnight on the button. He says he's feeling uneasy. Everyone's telling me to move, but I don't have any guarantee that this won't follow me. I had a dream last night, where David was dragging me by the arm through an old abandoned warehouse. I'm not sure why I didn't fight back in the dream or how he was strong enough to pull me, but that's dream logic. He woke up with a bruise on his arm and then takes a picture of him with a bruise on his arm.
Oh, I think he needs to find a priest.
I lived in the neighborhood for over 4 years, and the place has always been jam-packed with carts getting service. But today, this is a warehouse. By his house, the whole warehouse was totally gutted and empty. The only thing in the entire warehouse, because he peeked in through an open door, the only thing in the entire warehouse was a single green chair.
And that's what he dreamt about? No, that's what the kid sat in, right?
Yeah, that's what the kid sat in.
What?
Right? It's getting worse, Sean. Yeah. Later, he says the cats began a new routine to hover around the door at 10 p.m., cry for about 15 minutes, then wander off as if nothing's wrong. Then he says my entire call history for the past week has a list of unknown numbers.
I don't think, is this story going to get better, Richard?
He picked up one of the phone calls and it didn't say anything. I just listened, waiting for some automated message to chime in. After about a minute, static stopped and there was silence. I kept listening. I heard what I thought was breathing, but it was so faint I can't be sure. My heart was racing, so it was hard to hear. Then just as I was about to hang up, I heard a very small voice whisper, "Hello?" Just hello, a flat statement. So quiet I could barely hear it. I panicked and hung up. I didn't know what else to do. I closed all the curtains in my apartment and turned on every single light. So then he set up nanny cams. The nanny cams start showing things moving on their own in the middle of the night. His cats are freaking out over invisible things that are in the middle of the room. I feel like it's dragging on.
Well, I feel like either this guy ends up like missing, or he's got an awesome movie deal from Blumhouse.
He hadn't been sleeping. Oh shit! There's pictures of a little boy in his bedroom. I can't tell by the little boy's head. Oh God, these are creepy as fuck. God, I feel dumb trying to convey this shit over a podcast, but it's fucked up.
Well, I don't want to see them, so don't send them to me. So is this just his account? That's all it is, like his Twitter account? Or are you on like a feed, like a article?
I'm looking. It's a yeah, because the Twitter account's still there. So anybody can go and check this out. But I feel like I should get to the end of the story. I'll be damned, Sean. You're right. He's getting a movie.
Yeah.
He made it.
Good. It's all made up, or is it?
Dan Lin will be producing a Dear David film, who was the producer of It.
Oh, nice. That seems like a very It type thing.
So there you go.
So it's all fake.
But apparently he's all right.
Yeah, good.
Let's see, his most recent tweet was 8 hours ago, and it's just about art. There you go. You're welcome.
Good.
Seemed like a cool story.
It did. Those are.
And I will say that like the pictures and the video are exceptionally creepy.
Yeah. Well, if it's somebody,
I feel like I'm not doing it justice.
Yeah. Well, if it's somebody that's got kind of some skill with that, he probably just did all that himself. There's been I think there's a couple like no sleep Reddit posts or like different Reddit posts.
Oh yeah.
I've heard of things getting picked up like that.
Uh-huh.
Which is kind of a smart way to use social media to kind of like basically you kind of live out this story and freak the fuck out of people like you just did.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like Tiffany hasn't texted me back, so I'm gonna have to wake her up and be like, "Hey babe, we're gonna have to put all the cats outside."
Now I'm just waiting for the door behind you to open, and there's the boy in the Michael Myers mask.
Oh, God. Punch him in the face. Well, it's weird that other cabinet's open now, too, in your place.
Oh, my God, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, shit.
Yep.
They moved the headstones.
All right. Well, Richard, as we are tidying up our haunted places that we never want to visit, at least I don't want to visit, do you have any Richard's closing thoughts?
Stay away from your Walmart.
Stay away from Walmart. Don't ask questions more than twice.
Yeah. And maybe you shouldn't build a park every time you find a Indian burial mound. Just a thought.
Solid logic.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we found this burial ground. What should we do? Here's a novel idea.
Put a fountain on it.
Here's a novel idea. Let's leave it alone.
Yeah. No, that's stupid. Playground equipment. That's what it needs.
Let's just put a sign that says, hey, let's respect the memories of those that are buried here. No,
fuck
fountain.
that. How about a jungle gym?
All right, let me do a little bit of housekeeping. Haunted housekeeping. Visit our website. We're at languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at languageofbro. Email us at bros@languageofbromance.com. And if you want to take that big, giant leap, join our Patreon accounts, www.patreon.com/languageofbromance. Like our spooky partners, Wendy and Aaron.
Yes. Super spooky. The spooky-est.
All right. Was there anything else before I close her out?
Sleep tight tonight, Bubbaloo.
I'll do my best. All right. Well, that's all the bromance we have for this show. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard.
Remember, don't be a why. Be a
why not. With spirit fingers.
Spirit fingers.